The massive crystal dome stretched endlessly above, filled with beings from across the galaxy. Ambassador Kim Hana walked slowly toward the center platform, her simple black uniform looking plain next to the glowing robes and energy fields of the alien delegates. She carried a small device that would show Earth's achievements to these advanced civilizations. Behind her, Captain Li Day watched from the visitor seats. His weathered face showed no emotion, but inside he felt angry. These aliens had already decided humans were too primitive before even hearing what Earth had accomplished. The Zephyrian delegate rose first. Its body looked like living crystal, with light dancing inside its transparent form. When it spoke, the words came through a translator device that made its voice sound like music. "So these are the humans," it said, and other delegates began to laugh softly. "Tell us, little ambassador, do your people still use fire to cook food?" More laughter filled the dome. Kim Hana kept her face calm. She had expected this treatment. "Honored delegates," she began, "Earth has achieved many things. We have learned to split the atom for power. We have built ships that can travel between stars. We have created computers that can think faster than any organic mind." The Vorthan delegate floated forward. It had no solid body, just pure energy, contained inside a geometric frame that shifted colors constantly. "Computers made of silicon. How wonderfully ancient. We discarded such crude methods 10,000 years ago." A being with 12 tentacles writhed with amusement. "They still work with metal." "Do they also use stone tools?" Kim activated her device. Holographic images appeared showing Earth's greatest achievements: massive ships moving through space, cities powered by fusion reactors, robots working in factories. But the aliens were not impressed. "Chemical rockets," snorted one delegate. "We mastered gravity manipulation when your species was still learning to make fire." "Look at those weapons," said another. "They actually throw pieces of metal at their enemies. How primitive." The Arcturian representative, a tall being covered in scales, shook its head sadly. "Their computers use electricity flowing through tiny wires. My children's toys are more advanced." Kim tried again. "Our fusion reactors can power entire cities. Our medical technology has eliminated most diseases. Our artificial intelligence can solve problems that would take organic minds centuries." But the delegates were already losing interest. Some were talking among themselves, ignoring the human presentation entirely. The Zephyrian delegate's light flickered with what seemed like pity. "Ambassador, your species shows promise. In perhaps 1,000,000 years you might develop real technology. Until then, we will grant you observer status." "Observer status?" Kim asked. "You may watch our meetings and learn from superior civilizations," explained the Vorthan, "but you cannot vote on important matters. Your technology is simply too backward." An insect-like delegate clicked in agreement. "Their ships use nuclear fusion. Nuclear fusion! We abandoned that crude energy source before your son was born." Captain Li Day clenched his fists in the visitor section. These aliens had no idea what they were dismissing. Human technology might be different, but it was reliable, practical, and proven in countless battles and explorations. The voting began. Quickly. Delegate after delegate pressed buttons or made gestures that registered their decision. The result appeared on screens throughout the dome. Observer status granted. Full membership denied. "The decision is final," announced the session leader. "Humanity may observe our proceedings, but has no voice in galactic affairs. Perhaps in time, when they develop proper technology, we can reconsider." As the session ended, aliens began filing out, many still chuckling about the primitive humans and their metal ships. Kim gathered her equipment while trying to maintain her dignity. A few aliens approached her with what seemed like kindness. "Do not feel bad, little human," said one. "Every species must start somewhere. Your rockets and computers are quite impressive for such an early stage of development." Another patted her shoulder gently. "When you discover how to manipulate matter at the quantum level, perhaps we can trade technologies. Until then, observe and learn." Captain Li Day joined Kim as the dome emptied. His face was red with anger. "Ambassador, they have no idea what they just did. Our primitive technology has taken us to every planet in our solar system. Our crude weapons have protected us from threats they cannot imagine. Kim nodded sadly. They see only what they expect to see. To them, anything different from their methods must be inferior. They walked toward the exit together. Around them, the great dome began to dim as maintenance systems activated. The most advanced civilizations in the galaxy had just dismissed humanity as backward children playing with toys. They will learn, Lee said quietly. Someday they will need our help. And when that day comes, I hope we remember how they treated us today. Kim looked back at the empty platform where she had tried to show Earth's achievements. Perhaps that day will come sooner than any of us expect. Neither of them knew how prophetic those words would prove to be. 3 months after the humiliating meeting, the same crystal dome filled with panic instead of laughter. Emergency alarms echoed through the vast space as alien delegates hurried to their seats. The mood was completely different now. Fear had replaced the arrogance that once filled this chamber. Controller Park Min-ho stood at the central platform, his face grim as he read from a datapad. Around him, the same aliens who had mocked Earth's technology now listened with desperate attention. The Zephyrian delegate no longer glowed brightly. Its crystal body flickered weakly, like a dying light bulb. The Altair system has gone completely silent, Park announced. His voice carried clearly through the dome's translation systems. 17 billion Zephyrians lived there. Now there is nothing. No signals, no energy readings, no life signs. Zephyrian delegate made a sound like breaking glass. Our greatest crystal cities, it whispered, the towers of light that took us centuries to grow, all gone in a single night. Similar reports came from across the galaxy. The Vorthan energy. Fortresses, structures made of pure force that could withstand the explosion of stars, had simply vanished. The massive bioships of the Arcturian fleet had disappeared without sending even a brief distress call. Admiral Song-hyun sat in the human observer section, studying the tactical displays on his tablet. The attack patterns made no sense. How could entire civilizations disappear so quickly? These were not primitive worlds. The Zephyrians had technology that could bend reality itself. The Vorthans existed as pure energy and could rebuild their bodies at will. What kind of enemy could do this? Asked the Centaurian representative. Its 3 heads turned in different directions, searching for answers that no one seemed to have. A new delegate approached the platform. Dr. Choi Ara, Earth's leading scientist, had been studying the few sensor readings that survived the attacks. Her hands shook slightly as she activated a holographic display. We are calling them phase entities, she explained. They seem to exist partially in our dimension and partially somewhere else. Your most advanced sensors can barely detect them. Before they strike. The hologram showed strange, shifting shapes that seemed to flicker in and out of existence. Sometimes they looked solid, sometimes they appeared to be made of energy, and sometimes they seemed to be both at once. The Vorthan delegate pulsed with confusion. Our energy scanners should detect any form of life or technology. How are they? Avoiding our sensors? Because they exist between dimensions, Dr. Choi replied. Your quantum detection systems are designed to find things that exist fully in our reality. These entities exist in multiple realities at the same time. The dome fell silent as the implications sank in. Every alien civilization had spent thousands of years perfecting technology based on quantum mechanics and energy manipulation. Now, they faced an enemy that existed outside those physical laws. The Arcturian delegate's tentacles writhed nervously. Our bioships can adapt to any threat. They can change their genetic structure to counter any attack. But there was no time. The ships were there one moment and gone the next. Admiral Song watched the alien delegates with growing concern. These beings had ruled the galaxy for millennia. Their technology could move planets and create artificial stars, but now they looked like frightened children. More reports arrived every hour. The phase entities seemed to be moving inward from the galaxy's outer edge, consuming everything in their path. They left no survivors and took no prisoners. Entire star systems simply stopped existing. How do we fight something we cannot see? Demanded the insect-like delegate from Kepler Prime. Our targeting systems cannot lock onto them. We tried everything, reported a survivor from the Vega system. Energy weapons passed right through them. Physical barriers meant nothing. They seemed to exist in several places at once. Dr. Choi studied her data carefully. The few readings we have suggest they can alter their quantum state at will. When you fire energy weapons, they shift to a state where energy cannot affect them. When you use physical barriers, they become incorporeal. The Zephyrian delegates' light dimmed further. Then we are defenseless. All our technology depends on either energy manipulation or quantum mechanics. If they can counter both. The thought hung in the air like a death sentence. The most advanced civilizations in the galaxy had no way to fight an enemy that existed partially outside reality itself. In the observer section, Admiral Song turned to Captain Lee Day, who had joined him for this emergency session. "What do you think?" Song asked quietly. Lee studied the tactical displays with the eye of a soldier who had fought in many battles. Their technology is too advanced. These phase entities have learned to counter quantum-based weapons and energy systems, but our weapons are too primitive for them to have encountered before. Song finished the thought. Neither man spoke their growing suspicion aloud. Earth's crude mechanical systems and simple kinetic weapons might see and strike targets that advanced alien technology could not, but suggesting such a thing would sound ridiculous. The emergency session continued late into the night. Plan after plan was proposed and discarded. The galaxy's greatest minds could find no solution to an enemy that existed between realities. As the delegates finally left the dome, whispered conversations began. For the first time in galactic history, some began to wonder if the primitive humans might know something they did not. The combined fleet of alien ships was the most powerful force ever assembled in galactic history. 2,000 vessels from dozens of civilizations hung in space near the Centauri Nebula, their hulls gleaming with advanced technology that could reshape matter and bend the laws of physics. Admiral Song Hyun watched from the bridge of Earth's small observation ship. The human vessel looked like a metal box compared to the elegant alien craft surrounding it. Zephyrian ships twisted light around themselves until they became nearly invisible. Vorthon vessels existed as pure energy given, form glowing like captured stars. The massive Arcturian bioships pulsed with organic life, their living hulls able to heal damage and adapt to any threat. Captain Choi Jun stood beside Admiral Song, both men knowing they were about to witness either the galaxy's greatest victory or its most devastating defeat. Behind them, Lieutenant Yu Sina monitored her instruments with growing concern. "Phase entities detected on long-range sensors," she reported. "They're approaching from multiple vectors. The alien fleet commanders had spent weeks planning this battle. Their ships were arranged in perfect formations, each vessel's strengths supporting the others. Energy shields overlapped to create barriers that could stop entire planets. Weapon systems that could destroy stars were charged and ready. Here they come," Choi whispered. The phase entities appeared like ghosts materializing from another dimension. They looked different each time someone observed them, as if they existed in multiple states simultaneously. Sometimes they seemed solid, sometimes they appeared to be made of pure energy, and sometimes they flickered between both forms. The alien fleet opened fire immediately. Brilliant beams of energy that could cut through mountains shot toward the phase entities. Quantum. Torpedoes that could unravel matter at the atomic level streaked through space. The Zephyrians fired weapons that bent reality itself, creating pockets of twisted space-time. None of it worked. The energy beams passed through the phase entities as if they were not there. The quantum torpedoes exploded harmlessly in empty space. Even the reality-bending weapons seemed to have no effect on enemies that existed partially outside normal reality. "Impossible," breathed Captain Choi. "Those weapons could destroy planets." But the phase entities were not just immune to the attacks. They began to absorb the energy weapons and redirect them back at the alien ships. Beams that had been fired at the invaders suddenly reversed direction and struck their own vessels. The first Zephyrian ship to die was a massive crystal dreadnought. Its hull, made of living crystal that could repair itself, simply shattered when hit by its own reflected energy beam. The beautiful vessel broke apart like glass, its pieces floating in space. "Zephyrian command ship destroyed," Lieutenant Yu reported, her voice tight with shock. "They're targeting the Vorthon energy cruisers now." The Vorthon ships tried to adapt their shields, changing frequency and composition to counter the attack. But the phase entities seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. They attacked from angles that should not have been possible, striking through shields that protected against every known form of energy. One by one, the Vorthon vessels flickered and died. Beings of pure energy simply ceased to exist as the phase. Entities drained their life force. The Arcturian bioships attempted to evolve defenses in real time. Their living hulls changed structure, trying to adapt to the threat. New organs grew inside the ships designed to counter interdimensional attacks, but there was nothing to adapt to. The phase entities existed in quantum superposition, attacking from states of reality that biological evolution could not counter. "Bioship Alpha is down," you reported, hull integrity failing on multiple vessels. Admiral Zhou watched the massacre with growing horror. These were the most advanced warships in the galaxy, crewed by beings who had mastered technologies beyond human understanding. Yet they were being destroyed like children's toys. The phase entities moved through the fleet like reapers. They seemed to phase in and out of reality at will, appearing inside ship hulls to attack directly. Alien crews reported intruders on their bridges, but security systems could not target enemies that existed in multiple dimensions. "Energy signatures are fluctuating wildly," Choi observed. "The phase entities are adapting to every countermeasure." Each time the aliens tried a new weapon or defensive system, the phase entities immediately developed immunity. They seemed to learn and evolve faster than any organic or artificial intelligence. Weapons that worked for a few seconds became useless. As the enemy adapted, the Confederation's greatest admiral, a being called Thorax Prime, sent a desperate transmission across all channels. "All ships, full retreat. Repeat, all ships withdraw immediately." But it was too late for most of the fleet. Ship after ship vanished from the tactical display as the phase entities consumed them. The survivors fled in panic, their perfect formations collapsing into chaos. Within 6 hours, nearly 1,500 ships had been destroyed. The remainder limped away, damaged and demoralized. The most powerful military force in galactic history had been crushed by enemies they could barely see or understand. In the aftermath, as rescue ships searched for survivors, a priority transmission reached Earth. Admiral Zhou read it with growing amazement. The message was from the Galactic Council, the same body that had dismissed human technology as primitive. "To Earth Command," the message began, "we formally request immediate military assistance. Our advanced weapons systems have proven ineffective against the phase entity threat. While we doubt your conventional technology can succeed where our superior systems have failed, we are now desperate enough to try anything." Zhou looked at Captain Choi. "They're asking for our help." "After calling us primitive," Choi replied, grimly. "Maybe it's time to show them what primitive can do." The human fleet that emerged from hyperspace looked like a joke compared to the alien armadas. 50 ships of rough metal and simple design floated in formation, their hulls scarred from years of use. No elegant curves or glowing energy fields, just grey steel and practical engineering that had served humanity for centuries. Admiral Kang Min stood on the bridge of the UES Determination, watching the tactical display with calm eyes. Her uniform was plain military grey, without the ornate decorations favoured by alien officers. Around her, the bridge crew worked at stations that looked primitive compared to alien technology. Physical switches, mechanical gauges, and analog displays filled the room. Commander Park Jisoo monitored the targeting systems that had guided human weapons since the early days of space travel. No quantum computers or reality-manipulating sensors, just reliable mechanical systems that tracked objects by simple physics. "Phase entities detected on approach vectors," reported Weapons Officer Nam Tae. His instruments were basic radar and optical sensors that the aliens had dismissed as Stone Age technology. Range 15,000 kilometers and closing. The aliens, monitoring the engagement from their surviving ships, could not believe what they were seeing. How could such primitive sensors detect targets that their advanced quantum arrays could barely track? "Switching to manual targeting," Nam announced. Quantum interference is scrambling our computer systems, but the mechanical targeting works perfectly. Admiral Kang smiled grimly. While the aliens had spent thousands of years perfecting quantum technology, humans had perfected the art of building things that worked regardless of exotic physics. Their ships were designed to function even if every computer failed. The phase. Entities attacked with the same tactics that had destroyed the alien fleet. They shifted between dimensions, becoming incorporeal when energy weapons fired at them. They existed in quantum superposition, adapting their state to counter whatever attacked them, but something was wrong. The phase entities tried to phase through the human ship's hulls and found they could not. The crude steel and ceramic armor remained solid and unchanging, unaffected by reality manipulation. "Impossible," whispered the Zephyrian observer on the monitoring ship. "How are their hulls maintaining dimensional integrity?" The answer was simple but devastating. Human ships were built with ordinary matter using ordinary physics. No quantum manipulation, no exotic materials, just honest metal forged in Earth's foundries. The phase entities, who could adapt to any advanced technology, had never encountered anything so fundamentally basic. The first human salvo shocked the galaxy. Kinetic weapons that the aliens had mocked as barbaric launched chunks of depleted uranium at incredible speed. The phase entities, accustomed to adapting their quantum state to counter energy attacks, found themselves facing lumps of metal that existed in only one dimension. The projectiles struck home with devastating force. For the first time since the invasion began, phase entities died. Their ability to exist between realities meant nothing against weapons that operated on simple Newtonian physics. "Confirmed hits on multiple bogies," Nam reported with satisfaction. "Their phasing ability doesn't work against solid projectiles." The phase entities tried to adapt, shifting their quantum state to counter the kinetic attacks. But there was nothing to adapt to. A bullet was a bullet, regardless of what dimension the target existed in. Physics was physics, and momentum was momentum. Commander Park looked up from her targeting station with excitement. "Admiral, their defensive systems are failing. They can't figure out how to counter our weapons." The human fleet pressed their advantage. Ships that looked like flying metal boxes systematically destroyed enemies that had effortlessly conquered the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. Weapons that fired simple chunks of metal proved more effective than reality-bending energy beams. The alien observers watched in stunned silence as humanity's primitive technology dismantled an enemy that had seemed invincible. The Vorthan delegate's energy form flickered with amazement. "They are using projectile weapons. Simple projectile weapons. How is this possible?" Admiral Song, watching from the observation ship, felt a surge of pride. "Because we never forgot the basics. While you pursued exotic technology, we perfected the fundamentals." The phase entities began to panic. Their entire strategy depended on adapting to advanced technology. They could counter quantum weapons, absorb energy attacks, and phase through exotic matter. But they had never encountered an enemy that used simple, reliable physics. "They're trying to retreat," reported Nam as several phase entities attempted to flee. "Should we pursue?" "No," Admiral Kang replied. "Let them go. Let them tell the others what they learned here today." The surviving phase entities fled into hyperspace, their confidence shattered. For the first time in their existence, they had encountered something they could not understand or counter. Human technology was so basic, so fundamental, that their advanced adaptation abilities were useless against it. As the battle ended, the alien observers struggled to comprehend what they had witnessed. The Arcturian delegate's tentacles writhed in confusion. "How did the humans succeed where we failed?" Admiral Song answered over the communication channel. "Because we never abandoned the principles that work. Your technology is impressive, but it's built on complexity. Ours is built on reliability." The human fleet regrouped, their metal hulls scarred but intact. They had accomplished what the combined might of galactic civilization could not. The supposedly backward humans had proven that sometimes the simplest solutions were the most effective. Commander Park smiled as she secured her weapons systems. "Admiral, I think the galaxy is about to learn a valuable lesson about underestimating others. Admiral Kang nodded, watching the alien ships in the distance. Indeed, perhaps now they'll understand that different doesn't mean inferior. The final engagement lasted 18 hours. Admiral Kang had realized the crucial weakness. The phase entities existed in quantum superposition, their advanced state making them vulnerable to humanity's deterministic technology. What the aliens had mocked as primitive was actually perfectly suited to fight an enemy that existed between realities. As the last phase entity fell to a barrage of conventional missiles, the silence across the galaxy was profound. The supposedly backward humans had accomplished what the combined might of advanced civilizations could not. Ambassador Kim stood once again before the Grand Assembly, but the atmosphere had changed completely. The same delegates who had laughed at human technology now listened with respectful attention. On behalf of the Galactic Confederation, announced the Zephyrian speaker, its light now steady and respectful, we formally apologize for our previous misconceptions about human capabilities. We offer Earth full membership with a permanent seat on our governing council. The Vorthan delegate pulsed with sincere gratitude. Your primitive technology saved us all. We request permission to learn from your engineers. Kim nodded graciously. We've always believed that diversity of approach strengthens us all. Earth accepts your offer of membership, and we look forward to sharing knowledge in both directions. In the months that followed, human engineers worked alongside alien scientists. The galaxy learned that advancement wasn't always about complexity. Sometimes the simplest solutions proved the most enduring and the most effective. Captain Lee, now promoted to Admiral, stood in the joint research facility, watching human technicians teach Zephyrians the principles of mechanical engineering while learning crystalline matrix theory in return. Different doesn't mean inferior, he said to his aide, Lieutenant Colonel Zhou Rin. No, sir, she replied, watching a young engineer named Xin Wu explaining metallurgy to fascinated alien scientists. Sometimes it just means necessary. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. True strength came not from dismissing others' achievements, but from understanding that every civilization had something unique to offer. And sometimes the most advanced solution was the one that worked.